Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join us. We talk about the cybersecurity in this in the emerging market as well as in the AI era. Today, the agenda will be mainly 5 topics. We will first discuss why do you need a cybersecurity assessment, why it is important, and then I will try to list all the regulations or the laws from different regions around the globe. And then the third part, I try to briefly introduce how we evaluate your product. I try to avoid any technical details, but it's inevitable. We have to talk about some technicals then. After that, I will show a case study focused on the EU Radio Equipment Directive on cyber requirement. And the last segment, I'll talk about our services from SGS. Okay, the first one, why do you need to evaluate your product, especially on the information security? I think the first one is you have to, because there are various of laws and regulations in different regions. You have to obey such regulations. So it's for regulatory and compliance around the globe. And then the other reasons, because we have a lot of threats from the data leakage, or there are some weak holes in your system, no matter it's hardware or software, you have to try to fix all the weak holes. And then there are a lot of increased services, devices everywhere, no matter it's a home appliance, toy, wearable devices, consumer, or any other computing or personal assistant devices. And last but not least, everybody can be a hacker to steal your data or to hack your device. Comparing to a few years ago, this should be a very professional thing, but now all the tools, all the attack method is very easy to access. So everybody can be a hacker to hack your device or the services. So we have to pay a lot of attention to that. So that's why, basically the 4 reasons. And what should we focus when we're talking about AI security? It's not only the function safety, but also we should focus on the information, the cyber part, as well as ethics and the privacies. This is the key difference from a traditional function safety. And of course, we have to make sure every service or device we are using is built with trust. So we call that trustworthiness. When we're talking about the 4 safety or security, we mainly focus on the personal carrialities, environmental damages, or we focus on the hardware weak holes or the system, even the algorithm vulnerabilities or system implementation. And of course, we should protect the users or the personal data and the traffic, the location, all the privacy informations, because it's the key information can maybe put you in a very dangerous situation. And of course, we should, if some of you know some basic information about cybersecurity, you should be familiar with the CIA. It's a key factors of very important asset. For example, CIA is short for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Oh, I have this. Okay. So here I try to list the different cyber requirements around the globe, because from different regions, maybe they have different regulations. So I try to divide that into 3 parts. For the American parts, the US and the Canada, they have different regulations or state bills to regulate all the device or the services in this area. In Europe, we have the EU regulations, and of course, there are some UK regulations. In the Asia-Pacific area, China have launched their own cybersecurity law and the data security law, and also in Singapore, in Vietnam, in India, Thailand, etc. Different countries, they have different laws focusing on cybersecurity. But after we detailed review the laws or the requirement, we can find there are a lot of requirements in common. They will focus on you should to protect your device, keep it upgraded, If there are weak holes, you try to fix them. You should implement some countermeasures or mitigation ways to address all the potential attack or threats. And also, last but not least, there are some life cycle requirements focusing on the service and the devices. Here I try to list some very specific requirement or some very specific requirement for the IoT products, because an IoT product for example, in the EU, in the UK, they have the RED. RED is short for Radio Equipment Directive. In the UK, there's a PSTI, and in the USA or in Singapore, there are different cybersecurity labeling scheme, etc. Some of them is mandatory. That means you have to pass that and to get a certification to meet the requirement. And some of them is for voluntary at present. I have to say it's voluntary temporarily. Maybe in a few months or in a few years, it will become mandatory because the cyber threats is more and more emerging. So we have to pay much attention on that. For the third part, I try to avoid too much technical details here, but I would like to show you how, as an independent evaluation lab, how we evaluate your device. What is the advice from our point of view when you're building your service or devices? We try to do threat modeling and risk assessment on every single part of the service. There is a very popular threat classification model. It's called STRIDE. Because STRIDE, we will focus on the target, the motive, the impact, and the attack of each of the services. So the STRIDE category will use the different ways to evaluate or to check the services. Is it a spoofing or tampering, reduplication or information disclosure or denial of service, which is DOS, is very famous. I think most of you are quite familiar with that. And also the evaluation of privileges. These are the very common seen ways to build or to erase the risk you may facing. And after you build the threat modeling, you have to give some scoring or some evaluation system to check, is this a very high threat? We have to pay much attention on that or not. So we will use a very strategic process to see how the attack will happen and to see how is the vulnerabilities or the weak holes to be attacked and to be threat. So we're trying to find out some countermeasures here. So normally we use this vulnerability scanning or some in-depth testing, including some professional penetration testing or some fuzzing testing to try to find out all the weakness in the system or in the services. When you evaluate the risk, it's quite simple. You will find how is the impact will be. Is it a very, very huge impact or very slight impact? And how likely it will happen? Maybe it will take a huge effort to attack your service or your device. Maybe it's quite easy. So different level of this kind of likelihood will matters a lot. So we normally use the very globally recognized way to give a score of such threat or vulnerability. So it's a commonly accepted way. We call that CVSS. It's Common Vulnerability Scoring System. I can show you an example here. For example, there is a threat here. We call that attack vector, because there are different attack vectors here, and there's also a complexity of such attack. It's very easy to happen, or it will take huge effort. And also, of course, it is a privilege that required, or just a normal access can attack your device. and whether it's is there a user interface or not, and how is the scope. It will hack all your system or just a very slight part of the services, and how is the confidentiality and the integrity and availability will be influenced. So we call that the main factor of a sector is CIA. After we calculate all these factors, we will have a score of such threat. For example, this one is 6.2. 6.2, we mark that in orange because this is a media attack. So I can quickly go to, oh, there's a picture missed here. In different color, we have different color scheme. For example, if the score is below 3.0, we call that is a very light threat. So you can try to find some way to mitigate such attack. But if it's in the color of orange, that means you have to try to solve this attack. And also there are some, maybe the score is over 6.0, it will be taken as red or critical. The critical vulnerabilities or threat must be solved before your product launching go to the market. And also we help you to define or analyze some countermeasures or mitigations here. We as an independent cybersecurity lab, we cannot help you to build your device more stronger, but we can give you some advice or we can evaluate your countermeasure and mitigations here. So normally we do verification and validation, and we will generate that into the report. With the report and the evidence proof, you can submit such report to, for example, to a certification body or notified body. Then the notified body will issue you a ticket based on the report from our lab. Here I generate a submission process. It's a common used process, so maybe seems a bit complicated. For different scenarios, maybe we can delete such some of the parts, but a full process will be like this. We will do the secure requirement specification review, and also we will review your secure design. We hope to trying to have a workshop with the developers, with the engineering team, trying to find out how you built the countermeasures to address such threat or potential attacks. We try to do a risk assessment here and generate a report for you. Then we build the testing case, because the testing case will build based on different regulations. For example, for the EU, we have the ETSI standard. We also have the EN standard. For the US market, maybe we will based on the NIST or some different standards. And then after that, we will do V&V, which is short for verification and validation. And after all the evaluation is finished, you will have an evaluation report here. So here I list some example. For example, for the medical device or consumer devices, for the medical device, you submit that to the FDA or MDR or NMPA in different regions. For consumer devices, maybe there are similar bureau from different regions. Here I can show you a very specific case study on the radio equipment directive here. What is the RED 3.3? It is an EU regulation initially published in 2014, but the 3.3 DEF is focused on cybersecurity. This is released about 3 months ago. It will become mandatory since next October in 2025. So what is the specific requirement here? In 3.3D, it asks all the radio equipment should not harm the network you connected with. And in 3.3E, it says you should protect the user's personal device or personal privacies here. And in 3.34, it says all the radio equipment, if it supports money transferring or some certain features, you should make sure protect it from fraud. This is the regulation and how we develop our services to meet the requirement. We have to, the recommended applied product will cover the following, but not only the following. For example, all connected toy or baby monitors, you have to obey this requirement. All network connected devices, such as the smart home, home appliance or IoT devices as smoke detectors, door lockers, all the IoT gateways, such as base station, hubs, Wi-Fi router, gateway, etc. All the smart cameras, surveillance devices, smart TV, smart speakers, all wearable health devices, and all home automation and alarm devices should meet this requirement. To meet the red requirement, we evaluate your device based on this standard. We call that EN 18031. It's freshly published by the EU. It's in mid of July. So there are three parts of the regulations here. We call that part part 1, 2, 3, which meets the 3.3 DEF respectively. This is published on June the 28th, 2024, so it's quite new. It's latest. This page is too technical, but I just want to let you know it's a lot of requirements focused on the cybersecurity in this standard. We should pay a lot of attention here when you building your service or devices, not only after it is finished. Here show a general process when we evaluate your device. I try to give you an overview of the standard because it's a very complicated standard, but each of the parts, for example, the part 1 is focused on network assets, and the part 2 is focused on privacy assets. Part 3 is focused on financial assets. If your service or device have such feature, you should pay much attention to that. For example, the part 1, network assets, any device can be connected to the network, not only directly connected, but also indirectly connected. What does that mean? That means if your device or service maybe be connected to the device via Bluetooth, via your smartphone or Wi-Fi router, it have to meet the requirement. Because somebody will say, oh, my device, it does not have any Wi-Fi or Ethernet interface, but if it has the Bluetooth or some NFC protocols can be connected, there are some data exchange there, you have to meet the requirement. And the second one is any device will collect or process the privacy data, you have to meet the part 2 requirement. For example, a baby tracking system is a very simple device. It does not connect to the internet, but it will collect the location data. It is taken as privacy asset. You have to meet the requirement. And the last part, for example, a POS terminal, a mobile POS terminal, it is far from radio equipment, but it will handle some financial things. So you have to meet the financial assets regulated in the standard part 3. This is also a technical slide. It illustrates how we evaluate your products. We call that a decision tree. We evaluate your service or product step by step. We try to see, is there any public accessibility in your device? If it is not applicable, then it will come to an end. Otherwise, you have to show proof or evidence to illustrate how you meet the requirement. So it's too much details and a lot of evidence preparation in such work. That's why we advise you spend a lot of time to prepare the questionnaire before submitting the application to the notified body. And here I give you some examples. What kind of service or product should meet different part of the standard? For example, a mobile phone. A mobile phone not only is a connected device, but also it will connect and process privacy data. And some mobile phone, they have the payment features, so they also meet the part 3 of the requirement. But if it's a simple Wi-Fi router, it's only connect to the internet, then you just need to evaluate based on part 1 of this standard. For other devices, for example, the GPS tracking device, it's just to collect the privacy data, so you meet the part 2. I think that's the most of the part here. And in the last part, I would like to introduce SGS and how we help you during this AI era. In SGS, it's a global TSE lead company. We have about 100,000 employees around the globe. We have a lot of offices and labs. We focus on 7 areas. And here I try to focus on the cybersecurity lab. You know, we have over 2,000 labs around the world, but on cybersecurity only we have many 10 labs around the globe. In China, we have 5 labs. It's newly built. Here we try, because a lot of OEM and a lot of developers here in China or in the Asia Pacific area, we try to help our partners. We try to be very close to our partners. So that's why we have 5 labs in Beijing, Shanghai, Kunshan, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. We have very professional evaluators in our labs, over 200 evaluators here. And every year we issue over 700 certificates here. So we focus on various of industries. Today we more focus on IoT, industrial, or medical devices, automotive, etc., because this is very fundamental requirement. Comparing to the very professional ones, for example, the payment terms or the energy and the space is quite professional. So maybe it's far from a general audience here, but the automotive or IoT devices is a very basic requirement. So we do a lot of projects in these verticals. I have introduced a lot of regulations to addressing the IoT devices. I here try to let you know we also have services helping the medical device OEM or operators to meet a requirement from the US FDA or the EU MDR, MDCG, or the China NMPA, because cybersecurity plays a very important role in this area as well. Just for your information, cybersecurity evaluation is mandatory for these kind of schemes. And also, as far as I know, there were a lot of requirements in industrial automation and a control system. So there is a very popular standard. It's called IEC 62443. We do have the accreditation to conduct such evaluation in all the 5 labs in China. Okay, try to summarize what I have talked today. I give you an executive takeaway in this page. We do help OEMs or evaluators or developers to do pre-evaluation service. That means before your product finished, we can help you from the very beginning. For example, we can provide a workshop or training service. We try to help you to build your own ability on cybersecurity. We also help you to do pre-evaluation to make assessment of how is your security design is. And also we provide a very professional security evaluation. That means we help you to do self-declaration to meet different regulations. We also help you to do vulnerability scanning, conformance test, and compliance, etc. Because when your service or product's finished, we can help you to do in-depth testing because it's conducted from a from an independent third party, we have the accreditation to be accepted by those notified body or those government bureaus. We can do penetration testing. We can also do fuzzing testing or static code review. And in some of scenarios, even after your product go to market, have been launched, maybe the local government or regulator ask you to continuous monitoring your services. For example, the FDA, they ask all the medical device manufacturers to continue to monitor the marketing to see if there are any weak holes or dangerous attack will be happen on similar devices. You have to pay attention to that. So we as a professional third party, we can help you to do such kind of job. We also help you to do continuous conformance because all the regulations, all the standards will grow year by year. So maybe in this year, all the services seems very cool, but 2 years later, it's out of date. So we can help you to do that. Of course, we can help you to do annually health check to update your certification. Okay, I think that's all my sharing today. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ross, for your sharing.